Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Brit and Jacob, the movies for episode 6. We are continuing our Spider-Man-a-thon. We've already covered the first film. And now we're going to talk about Spider-Man 2. It was once again directed by Sam Raimi and stars once again Tobey Maguire, Kirsten Dunst, Alfred Molina, James Franco, Rosemary Harris, and JK Simmons. I'm Jacob.
And I'm Britton.
All right, let's get started. Britton, you want to take it from here?
Yeah. I guess there's not really much else to say. I think we both agree that the first one is fantastic.
For sure, without a doubt.
Though I might even say that the second one. Now, Sam Raimi had a hard job already trying to bring Spider-Man to life, because, Spider-Man is a very iconic character, and people are, they're going to get a little defensive. Well, he's like, first one, fucking banger, one of the greatest movies of all time. But then, he's like, God, I'm going to have to do this shit again. But then he's all like, you know what, I'm going to make the best shit ever, and then he made Spider-Man 2. I still think this is probably one of the best superhero movies ever made. Like, without a doubt in my mind.
Oh, yeah. For sure. Couldn't agree more. One of the best comic book movies ever made, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. It's up there with, like, The Dark Knight and Logan. Though those are pretty dark movies. I wouldn't say this is the darkest film in the world. But I do think it's, like, one of the, like, deepest superhero films I've ever seen in my life. And not in, like, Dark Knight sort of way. It's just, like, it, like, takes itself way more seriously than you'd think. And the first movie did, too. But, the second film really takes the ball, the first one, and just kind of runs with it. And I just love this movie.
Oh, yeah. Me, too. I remember when I first watched it, I was so excited, just by how much I loved the first one. The second one, I just remembered loving it even more, and so many great scenes that I still remember, so many fond memories.
Oh yes, definitely. There's a lot of great stuff in this movie. And you thought the first movie was iconic? Oh boy, man, this second movie might even outdo it. Sorry if my voice sounds a little weird today. I've been busy this weekend and my throat kind of hurts. My voice, I wouldn't say my voice is a little shot, but it still feels normal, so I guess it'll work out. But yes, we're talking about Spider-Man 2.
Oh yes, cannot wait.
I was watching our Spider-Man episode yesterday. I don't know why, but the part about Michael Jackson playing Spider-Man just made me laugh. And I thought, man, that would have been a great hilariosity if they ever did make that.
Oh,
I'm sure that would have gone into hilariosity territory.
Oh, yeah. True story. True story. He really actually wanted to play Spider-Man. It was insane.
Yeah, I know. Oh, man. That would have been so weird. But,
that would have been something else.
yeah, it's like Peter, he's like, oh, this is something else. Sees, like, Michael Jackson doing the moonwalk.
Oh, God.
No, but the good thing we got the Sam Raimi movies, and we can laugh along with them, but also really have a good time.
Indeed.
I mean, Spider-Man 2, really my blurb thoughts. I mean, this is one of the best superhero movies ever made, like I said earlier. I mean, Roger Ebert, he was kind of fine with the first movie. He thought it was fun and all that. But then he went on to say about this movie that this is the best superhero film he had ever seen. So, take that what you will. And Ebert's a big inspiration for me, and I think Jacob too. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. No, funny you mentioned, like, his thoughts on the Spider-Man 2. His first thoughts on Spider-Man, it was one of the very first reviews from him that I strongly disagreed on. But I remember, like, when I was little, he gave a review for Spider-Man 2. I remember he gave the film 4 stars, was his highest rating. And I just went back to go rewatch it. When I matured more, my brain started to develop a bit more, and realizing, wow, there's a lot more to this than just like Spider-Man and all that. It's a film that focuses on his characters.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, at least with the Ebert review, I think that was one of the ones I did disagree with him on. I can see where he's coming from, but I don't think he was right on Spider-Man. I might be speaking from bias, but I'm just saying. Which we're definitely biased here, so we're not like pretending that we're being objective here. But but then he talked about Spider-Man 2, and I gotta say, I think he was right on the money with Spider-Man 2.
Oh yeah, I agree.
I mean, this movie has better characters, or not better characters. It basically takes the characters into an entirely different direction. And also just, again, like the first movie, really understands Spider-Man. At least as a character.
Oh, yeah. It's one of the reasons why I think Spider-Man 2 is still the best live-action Spider-Man movie. Spider-Verse might be my favorite Spider-Man film overall, but Spider-Man 2, it still holds its ground as one of the best comic movies ever made, and it's because it understands the character of Peter Parker and Spider-Man and the duality there and what needs to be present for his character.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same way. I'm kind of a three-way tie between the first two Raimi Spider-Man movies and Into the Spider-Verse, which, Into the Spider-Verse, maybe we can talk about that after we see and discuss No Way Home, but that movie, just short little spoilers, I thought it was, oh
yeah. Way better than I thought it would be.
Oh yeah, definitely. But back to what else was probably better than everyone expected to be? Spider-Man 2.
Oh yeah.
I would say this is the Empire Strikes Back of Spider-Man movies, but I don't know how that would fly. I bet people would be like, "Oh, Empire Strikes Back's a way better movie." So I don't know. So I don't know about that. But I think this goes up with like one of the greatest sequels ever made, though. Dark Knight, Empire Strikes Back, Godfather Part 2, Indiana Jones, and the Last Crusade. I almost said Crusade of Doom. I meant Last Crusade. What about Temple of Doom? It's a prequel, and I don't love that movie as much as The Last Crusade. Last Crusade is the best Indiana Jones movie. Fight me. But I digress. We're going to talk about this iconic movie, and man, I've been excited for this, just as much as I was for the first movie.
Oh yeah, me too. There's so much to talk about with this film.
I mean, really captures the character of Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, in the best way ever.
Indeed. And it also has Dr. Octopus in it, who is just an iconic Spider-Man character. I would say he is one of my favorite villains, though I like Mysterio a little more. So you better know, Far From Home was a lot of fun to watch, because I'm a big Mysterio guy.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
Though, I wish he wore the fishbowl more. But I digress. But, yeah, so you want to get into Spider... I think our blurb thoughts before we get started is we love Spider-Man 2. Great film.
Yep, we both love it. Great movie, as we said. One of the best comic movies ever made, and one of the best sequels ever made. Right up there, right aside with The Dark Knight, Last Crusade, and Empire Strikes Back.
Definitely. I mean, just excellence all around. And people usually tend to look down on sequels because it's like, you don't have any ideas, but this film actually, like, expands on everything that was established in the first movie. Which, sadly, the third movie didn't do. I guess third movies are just jinxed for the most part, but, we'll get to that next week. But yeah, Spider-Man 2's banger. Let's get into this.
All right.
I think this movie, like we said, I think the biggest strength of this film is this film gets Spider-Man, but it also gets Peter Parker as well, because the beginning of this movie is a classic Spidey Peter Parker setup. He's kind of in the dumps at the moment. He's not talking to Mary Jane or Harry or even Aunt May for that part, and he's got a job that he's struggling with Joe's Pizza Place, which is awesome. But yeah, basically his setup is his boss is mad at him for shirking his responsibilities, even though Peter Spider-Man. But yeah, basically it's a classic Peter Parker setup. He tries to live a normal life, but Spider-Man just keeps getting in the way, and it's like this for the entire movie.
Oh yeah, just from the opening scene, just immediately Peter is struggling. Like he's trying to deliver pizzas, but he's also something comes up and he has to be Spider-Man, but he's also trying to deliver pizzas. You once again, just like with the first one, you immediately relate to him.
Oh yeah. Also, his boss is I forget. I know his face from a lot of places, but I forget his name. I see on Wikipedia, Asif Mendivi. I apologize if I butchered your name. Please don't cancel me on the internet. But he is hilarious as his boss, as Peter's boss. He's like, Joe's 29-minute promise is a promise, man. I know to you, Parker, a promise means nothing, but to me, it means everything.
Oh, Mr. Aziz.
Yeah, Mr. Aziz. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, so many quotable lines from him, just from his little moments alone. Like you have to be there at 24 minutes, 7.5 minutes, or your ass is fired. And the iconic "Goo."
Yeah, I was about to say that. And another thing I love about these movies, I was watching a video from High Top Films. I don't know if you watch him, which is a channel I recommend if anyone is watching this. But
yeah.
He was talking about Spider-Man 2, and he gave me a more in-depth appreciation for this movie. He said that basically everyone in these movies has character, and even characters that don't really matter, like Mr. Aziz. They have so much personality, and I love it.
Oh, yeah. He mentioned that in his Spider-Man 2 review, and it just made me love the movie even more.
Indeed, yeah. I mean, and this guy's just like, go! And Peter just gets on his little moped, which is just perfect. I love that moped.
Oh, me too.
That's just so Peter Parker. He can't afford a car. He's like, I'm just gonna get this moped, and he's driving around. He's really trying to get this job done, but then this bus with Mary Jane's face. Oh yeah, Mary Jane's become pretty successful as an actress. Forgot to mention that.
Oh yeah, she's on billboards. You can even see it, just you see a close up of her face, and it zooms out, and Peter's just so focused on her.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of one of the conflicts of the movie is between him and Mary Jane. Not really that they're enemies or anything, like him and Dr. Octopus, but they're kind of having issues, which we'll get into.
Mm-hmm.
Ever since Peter friend-zoned her at her friend's funeral. Jeez. Bad place to declare your love. I'm just going to say that right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, Peter is basically... so Peter's trying to get this pizza, almost runs into a bus, and he also, he's like, fuck this, decides to be pizza delivery guy. Pizza delivery Spider-Man. But that's a lot of fun, too.
Oh, yeah.
He's just swinging around. Which, I don't know why he didn't just do this earlier, but I guess we figured out why in a few minutes. But Peter's swinging around, sees some kids in trouble. He's like, shit. So he goes over, saves them, and he's like, hey, don't be playing in the street, kids. And they're like, yes, Mr. Spider-Man. Apparently that's Peyton List, by the way. I didn't know that.
Huh.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, it's weird. I didn't know that until a few days ago. And her brother. Excuse me. My voice cracked.
Oh, yeah. When Peter becomes Spider-Man, there's another, iconic line. This one guy, when he sees him swinging with his pizza in his hand, he's like, whoa! He stole that guy's pizza!
Yeah, it's like the pizza accidentally lands on this guy's balcony, and he's about to... he's about to, take a slice, but then he, takes it from him. That's freaking hilarious. And the guy's like, whoa! Spider-Man just took that guy's pizza. It's one of those things. I love the people in this movie. There's this one, black chick who's like, go, Spidey, go! It's freaking hilarious. I think it's in this movie.
There are just side people who like really shine at this movie, and they only get like 2 seconds of screen time in the movie.
Oh yeah, man. Then Peter gets to this building, and we get one of the big memes of Spider-Man when Peter puts the pizza down. He's like, "Pizza time," and he's just,
oh man,
he's got this big goofy grin on his face. It's hilarious. I love this scene.
Oh, me too. One of the most iconic lines and moments ever.
And then there's... Oh, sorry, what were you saying?
Oh, I just love it. Pizza time.
Yeah, and this chick, who by the way, is just a total bitch. It's like, she just like...
Straight up.
She's like Jessica Jones a little bit. She kind of looks like the Kristen Ritter. I think she's the lady from Bones, actually. Anyway, so she kind of just looks at the clock and is like, it said 29 minutes. And you came in 30. So she makes him leave. Without him getting his money.
Like shit.
Oh, man. And Peter's just like, oh, man. So he goes back to Mr. Aziz. He gives him that iconic line. He's like, I know a promise means nothing to you, but to me, it means a lot. And he's like, come on, man, give me a chance. And then he's like, nope. And he takes the Joe's Pizza off. So, Peter's fired, and that sucks.
And then we cut back to him at the Daily Bugle, and J. Jonah Jameson, once again, you're fired.
Oh, I don't think we're there yet, but I don't think we're at that point yet, but that's another great meme. I think I think he goes there and it's the food poisoning scene where he's like making up a headline. He's like, food poisoning scares city, and then Ted Raimi's like, oh really?
Oh,
There's
yeah.
food poisoning? He's like, yeah, I feel a little nauseous. Get out.
Yeah, I think I was correct when like Mr. Aziz ripped off his sticker. I remember J. Jonah Jameson's like, Parker, hello, you're fired because food poisoning and all that.
Yeah, and poor Hoffman.
I know.
Oh man, you know what? I think it's funny. Well, you know what? I'll get to that later. I was gonna talk about his son, but we'll get to that. But Peter's like kind of reluctant to give him the photos because J. Jonah Jameson has a knack of just dicking with Spider-Man. He's like, he's a menace, And then he does the food poisoning bit, and Peter's like, fine, here you go. So basically the premise of this movie is that Peter's having a pretty hard time. His powers aren't working correctly, he's struggling with his work, his friendships aren't going very well, his, Mary Jane is kind of mad at him, then she's kind of not. It's kind of weird throughout this movie.
Yeah, and it's great. And he's failing in class. Yeah,
he's failing at class. Yeah, like, the dude's just struggling, which, again, kind of brings the magic of Spider-Man. Like, you gotta keep kicking this kid to the ground,
Yeah, keep pounding him into the dirt. And this movie just, like, goes for it. So they just pound him into the dirt.
Oh, yeah, and also his landlord, Mr. Dickovich, yet another iconic character, keeps harassing him for money. I think that's a little later, but I just love Mr. Ditkovich. He's so funny.
I know. I love him so much. Just like, just so many iconic things. Just him saying, rent.
Yeah. Yeah, like, he'll just be, like, in his boxers and chasing Peter down the hallway, like, give me rent! It's so fun. And his daughter, like, oh, man. Peter, you're missing out, man. I think she liked him. She would have been really good for you, man.
Yeah.
But I digress.
Missed opportunity.
But yeah, Peter's going through the dirt at the moment, and I think this is the birthday party scene, because I guess Peter got so busy he forgot his birthday.
Oh yeah, even Aunt May, when they like give him that surprise, she's like, "Well, say something," and he's like, "What's the occasion?"
Oh yeah, classic Peter Parker. He's like, "Oh yeah, what?" Oh yeah, what's the occasion? He's like, it's your birthday, you idiot.
I say Peter being oblivious.
have some cake, you moron. No, I'm kidding. But Tobey Maguire again just fucking nails Peter Parker, I think.
Oh yeah, captured that awkwardness of Peter Parker, but also feeling so much sympathy for him, just like in the first movie.
Yeah, I mean, him and Tom Holland, I think, are tied in like best Spider-Man for me. I mean, not shitting on Andrew Garfield or anything, but again, we'll get to that when we get to Amazing Spider-Man. But I think they captured the awkwardness of Peter Parker pretty well.
Oh yeah, couldn't agree more.
But so Harry, Mary Jane, and Aunt May are there, and that's kind of sad because you're like, damn, he doesn't have more friends. But I guess it makes sense. Yeah. Aunt Mary passes out. That's a little weird. Mary Jane is kind of weird with him at the moment. She's like, "Hey, how you doing?" And Harry's pissed off at Peter. I mean, he still loves Peter, but he's kind of mad at him because he knows Peter's taking photos of Spider-Man, and yet he doesn't know who he is because Peter is Spider-Man.
There's a lot of conflict between them as well.
Yeah, and one of the things I think this film does well, that I think Spider-Man 3 doesn't do very well, is that it takes very much from the first movie. Like, the first film's events inform these. Like how a sequel should.
Oh, yeah. Just take everything that was good about the first and make it better. Give us more character development. Make us relate to them more. Understand their point of view and where they're coming from.
Indeed. But Harry's still Peter's boy, and he decides to offer him a very good opportunity. He says, hey, I got this guy. Because, since Norman's dead now, Harry has decided to kind of take over the Oscorp business, which, oh boy, I bet Norman's very thrilled about that.
Oh, yeah. Looking down on him, it's like, my son, I'm so proud of you.
Oh, no.
Wrong once again.
No, Harry's kind of like, yo, I got my boy. His name's Otto Octavius. I think you'd like to meet him. And, of course, Peter, being the science nerd that he is, he's like, oh, yeah, boy. I'm ready, But there is that tension there, which I really like in this scene. Like, you can tell they're still boys, but, there's that tension there. And it's throughout the movie till we get to that scene. I think James Franco's better in this movie than he was in Spider-Man 1.
I agree. He's given a lot more to do in this film.
Instead of being Norman's mopey son, who gets pissed off at Spider-Man.
Just constantly being jealous that him and Peter have more of a relationship than him and Norman.
Yeah. And you can definitely tell the influence of Norman Osborn kind of pervades over this movie. Not that, he's, somehow still alive or something, crazy like that. But you can tell that he's, you can tell his influence is still there. Like, you can feel what happened in the first movie in this one.
Oh, yeah, precisely.
And, Peter's very excited because he's a big fan of Otto Octavius, I think. I think he already knew who Otto Octavius was, right? I mean, I'm sure he did.
Oh, yeah. I remember when he was late to class, Dr. Connors was like, your paper on fusion is still overdue. And Peter's like, I know, but I'm planning to write on Dr. Otto Octavius.
Oh, yes. Yes. And Kurt Connors is in this movie, played by Dylan Baker, who you're like, who's that guy? He's like that, he's the overly smiley guy who's in, movies like Happiness and, what's that other movie he was in? He was in Trick or Treat as well.
Oh, yeah.
Also a very good movie. But yeah, he's also got the no arm like in the comic books. I did hear they were intending to make him the Lizard in Spider-Man 4, but that didn't happen.
Wah, wah.
Exactly. But Peter decides that he's going to... Harry gives him the opportunity to talk to Otto Octavius. And Peter is like, "Oh hell yeah!" So yeah, I mean that's kind of that scene. I mean, is there anything you wanted to add? I mean, or well, Aunt May just passes out all of a sudden, which you're like, "Oh dear, is she okay?"
Oh yeah, and she gives Peter birthday money, $20. She's like, "You need more than I do." And Peter's like, "No, I can't take it." And she's like, "Yes, you can. You can take this money from me." And he goes back to his apartment. Mr. Dickovich just like snatches his $20 away from him, and he's like, "Sorry, doesn't pay the rent."
Yeah, yeah. Also, another part that just beats him down. You know, you got Aunt May is facing eviction because real life does not calm down from being a superhero. Sometimes bad shit happens.
Oh yeah.
And it's really sad because you kind of really like that house in the first movie. You kind of feel attached towards it. And, yeah. Rosemary Harris, she just reminds me a lot of my grandma. She even kind of looks like my grandma. But you're like, aw, you just want to, like, give her a hug,
Yeah, because she has that very warm feeling to her that you should feel from, like, a grandma of some sort.
Yeah, and Peter's all giving the whole humble brag. He's like, I don't need this. And she's like, you're gonna take it, damn it. And he's like, okay. And then, like you said, he goes back to the apartment. He, like, checks in on Mr. Ditkovich for some reason. And he just snatches the $20 from him.
Classic Mr. Ditkovich. Actually, I want to say this. When I first watched this, I've always thought his last name was Mr. Ditkovich.
Ditkovich?
Ditkovich. Like, bitch.
Oh, bitch, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why. I've always thought that was his name, not Vitch.
Which, apparently Mr. Ditkovich is a reference to Spider-Man co-creator Steve Ditko.
Yes.
Yeah, so a little fun fact for y'all. The more you know. But, yeah, Peter just is not doing very well at the moment. He's just kind of in a spot. And also his powers are fucking up.
Yeah, pretty much he's having the worst luck ever. Bad luck.
I think he even sees a doctor. Or I know he sees a doctor. I don't know when he sees him, but he does see a doctor. And he's like, yo, my friend is having some issues with his spider powers. And he's like, oh, it might be psychosomatic. Like, there's something probably wrong, like, mentally that, blah, blah, science jargon. Which kind of goes to the conflict of this movie, which is, what does it mean to be a hero? And the idea that heroism can mean pain.
Yes, and consequences, responsibility.
Yeah. And, Peter's just, again, he's just getting shit on throughout the entirety of this movie.
Yeah, like, as I said, this movie just keeps pounding him into the dirt as much as possible.
Yeah, it's like the Jackass movie. They make this dude pee into like snow, make it into a yellow snow cone, and then like make him eat it. And then then he eats it and he's all disgusted, and then some guy kicks him in the crotch. Like that's Peter Parker in this movie.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh man, Jackass the movie. That's. I never thought I'd make that reference in a Spider-Man movie, but I digress. So, I think after that, Peter meets Otto Octavius, played by Alfred Molina, and oh boy, Alfred Molina. He's one of those guys. He's kind of like Tim Roth. He's in movies, but we don't see him all that much, and that's kind of a shame because I think he's a great actor.
Oh yeah, especially in this film. Ah man.
Yeah, I mean he's he captures all, and he just really gets the character of Otto Octavius. I mean, apparently he was a Marvel Comics fan before he even took this movie, and and he said that he kind of wanted to capture the morbid sense of humor of Dr. Octopus, which he does throughout this movie. It's pretty funny.
But, he certainly does.
And Peter kind of, takes a shine towards Dr. Octavius. I mean, they kind of geek out about science, and talk about things, and he meets and Peter meets Otto Octavius' wife. Her name's Rosie.
Mm-hmm.
And they just have a grand old time. I really like this scene. You really get to see Otto Octavius before he turns into Dr. Octopus. And
oh, yeah.
He's not a bad guy.
No, very humble and also intelligent. And he immediately you can tell that he really likes Peter.
Yeah, you can tell he takes a shine to him.
Mm-hmm. He's like, I like this kid.
Yeah, I mean, I would say he is a little egotistical, but he's not like bad or anything. It's not like or maybe stubborn is a better word.
Yeah.
He's a little stubborn. He's like, oh man, if I'd because he's like, man, he's like, I'm making this reactor, this fusion power reactor, and he's like, oh cool, and Peter's all like, do you think it might screw up? He's like, nah, man, like I did the stuff, and I'm good to go.
Yeah, he's very ambitious. I'll say that.
Oh yeah. He's definitely ambitious. He's like, I'm gonna have the power of the sun in my hand. It's gonna be great. And Peter's like, okay, might backfire. And he's like, no, it's not. So they have a little nice thing there. And Peter, I think Peter and Otto talk during this. There's a nice little other detail I like. When they're talking about the science thing, basically Peter is describing the science of how he swings as Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah.
Which I thought, that's a cool detail.
Yeah, nice little subtle detail.
I mean, again, Sam Raimi, man. He really put it all into this movie.
Oh, yeah. He put his all into it in the first one, and now he's putting his all into it in the second one.
Oh, man, he's just, whew, boy. Woo boy.
Oh, man.
Yeah, but yeah, Octavius actually seems like a nice guy. Gives Peter some good lines about how intelligence is a privilege meant to help people.
Mm-hmm.
Just he's a great character. At least so far.
Oh, yeah. Alfred Molina, he nails Otto Octavius. He's so good in this movie.
Oh, my God. I mean, I love Willem Dafoe in the first movie, but I don't know, man. It's hard. It's like comparing Marlon Brando and Al Pacino in the first Godfather movie. Like, they're both just great, and you're like, damn.
Yeah.
Really.
Both perfect casting, both excellent actors. Willem Dafoe, you got some competition here.
Oh, yeah. And, I mean, Willem Dafoe's in this movie for 5 minutes, but, that's later on. But yeah, Peter's just in awe that he's meeting this guy, and he's of course like, oh boy, this is awesome. And I think after that's when we get to the actual part where he's about to do his experiment for the fusion power thing.
I think so. Or is it? I think it's where. Peter reading poems and while he's out of laundry.
Oh yes, that's a good scene. Peter's kind of he's really struggling in this movie, and he's trying to get his love life with Mary Jane. And I remember Chris Stuckman in his review of Spider-Man 2, he was talking about how Mary Jane gets super pissed off at him for some reason because he missed her play. Which I guess that's later. But, I kind of think it makes sense. He didn't think it made sense all that much, but I thought it kind of did. Because, Peter's kind of been inconsistent. He'll be like, oh, yeah, I like you. And then, no, I don't want you to go because I don't want to be together because of my enemies. And, yeah. But yeah. I think it actually kind of makes sense. I don't know about you.
I think it does. Though I do think she's a bit harsh. I would say so. Me personally, I understand her frustration for sure. But saying you're nothing to me but an MCC, I'm like, shit.
Damn.
Jesus.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Which is another classic Peter Parker setup. He's reading poetry and he's so sucked up into it He forgets to like separate the clothes so it gets all red and shit. It's yeah, great stuff. Very funny.
Oh yeah, that's why I love the first two Raimi films so much. As we said, they have a great understanding of Peter Parker. Like it really shows what it would be like for a normal person to be Spider-Man now, and how hard that would be.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And Peter's just like, damn it. Well, it's just like, which is basically his motto throughout the movie. And man, is that where this Go Spidey Go scene is? I don't. No, that's when he comes back. Never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, never mind. So, a little while later, Octavius decides that he's going to do this little experiment, and you're like, oh boy. And, science experiments in superhero movies always go very swimmingly.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. And it goes well at first, actually. He's kind of, walking around, and then he gets the iconic arms, which were a mix of practical and CGI effects, and the arms look amazing.
Oh yeah, the arms.
Mwah. Oh my god, they're so good.
Oh yeah, the mixture of practical and CGI, it's flawless.
Oh man, I forgot to mention this in the first movie, but the way they can combine practical and CGI in the first two movies are just so good. Some of it kind of looks a little aged nowadays, but the way they balance it is just awesome. I love it.
Oh yeah, as I said, it's flawless, and I love that particularly the first two, they're not over reliant on CGI. I mean, it's there, but it wasn't used as a crutch.
Exactly. And I'm just gonna say this. I always get freaked out by stuff that has to do with the spine, like acupuncture. If you put acupuncture in your spine, like, ugh, I don't like it. And these arms just like attach to his spine, and they like put these like the things, the little needles go into his spine. You're just like, ah, God.
Oh yeah, even everyone else reacts. They were like, ugh.
Yeah, I mean, there's this episode of Fringe where this lady gets, like, this disease that causes her to have to, like, Hulk out and, like, eat people's spinal fluid. It's just, oh my god.
Oh boy, Jesus.
Yeah, it's like that. Like, I don't know what it is, but shit that has to do with the spine just, like, ugh, like, just freaks me out. And, you can just see he's just like, ugh, like, when it, like, attaches itself to him. You're just like, oh my god. That's just... yeah. But, this reporter's like, I love this scene, and, again, back to Molina's performance. I just love his performance in this movie. Again, he's very suave and calm and very confident, but he also has that menace, which we see a little later in the movie. But he's really good in this. Scene.
He captures the spirit of Otto Octavius brilliantly.
Yeah, I mean, he's not really the like toad of a man that he is in the like comics, but that's fine. I'm not like a super purist. I mean, if I were, then I would have gotten like, I don't know, Danny DeVito to play him, and that would have been fucking weird. Plus, he already played the Penguin. He did a good job at that, so whatever. But at first the experiment, this woman's like, hey, these arms, you said they're by AI. Aren't you kind of nervous that they might go haywire? And he's like, glad you mentioned it. I got this inhibitor chip here, so it won't mess with my mind. Definitely won't backfire on me. Alright, let's get this started. Oh, how we were all wrong. So, Otto decides to get his experiment going, and actually goes pretty swimmingly at first.
Yeah, everything's smooth sailing.
Yeah, and everyone's like, ooh, how everyone is when science stuff. everyone's always like, science is boring until like stuff blows up, and they're like, oh, cool, you know?
Yeah, like, ooh, this has got interesting.
And Otto Octavius is, I gotta say, Alfred Molina just kind of nails some of the more overdramatic dialogue. He just gets it perfectly. Like, not like uber hammy, but he just delivers it perfectly. I don't know how to describe it, but it's just like, mwah.
Oh yeah, I think you described it perfectly. It's not over hammy or like overly like dramatic or over the top.
Yeah, like this part where there's a couple of instances where this is true, but he's all like, I have the sun in my hand. And it's like, that could have been so cheesy if someone else said it, but he did, and it sounds great.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and then it starts going wrong.
Yeah, everything just starts to go haywire.
Now, this fusion power is kind of like a gigantic magnet. If I could... That's a very simplified explanation, but that's just how I see it. It's basically like a gigantic magnet.
Yes.
And it starts kind of getting everything and taking people's... Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention Harry and Peter there, and Harry's, like, assistant guy, who's actually played by the same guy who plays Father Lantham in Daredevil, in the Daredevil show, which I didn't recognize him until, like, recently.
Oh, yes.
And he's like, this is one that your father's, or beyond your father's dreams, and Harry's just, like, smiling with pride, and then it starts going wrong. I forgot to mention that part.
Yep. Everything just, like, you thought it would be smooth sailing at first, but nope. It just becomes a shit show after that.
Yeah, and it kind of also this scene also illustrates Otto's big flaw throughout the movie, which is his stubbornness and ego. I wouldn't say he is egotistical, but he is very stubborn though, and that really bites him in the ass in the scene because he's like, "It's okay, guys, everything's fine," and then it starts not going fine.
Oh, yeah. Harry's just like, turn it off, and he's like, it'll stabilize, it's under control, and Harry just screams, I'm in charge here!
Oh my god, yeah, there's one part, this is such a nitpick, but I just hate the part, I just hate James Franco in this scene, because he just looks like some spoiled asshole, who's just like, this is mine! Rah! You know, it's so...
He just comes off as, like, this rich, privileged asshole.
Yeah, I know, and I know it's probably the point of the scene is probably to make him look like that, but it's like, oh god, like, could have done that better a little bit.
Yeah.
Because one of the things I liked in the first movie is that he wasn't like that, you know?
No. He was pretty much like Peter, except not as awkward. He was just, like, just normal.
You know, I mean, he's just a guy. He's a little naive about the world, but he doesn't want to let, like, his richness make him, like, cocky or anything. Nah, they kind of throw that away in this movie, but, you know, that's fine, whatever. They keep his character intact for the most part.
Yeah. Just that, that was a nitpick of mine, too. It always made me a little frustrated, but also found it kind of funny, just him screaming.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, it is also funny, too. And this thing just starts flying at him while he's yelling about how it's his project and whatnot, and Spider-Man just comes in and just, whoop, just saves him.
And then he's like, and then Harry just says to him, this doesn't change anything because he thinks Spider-Man killed his father.
Yeah, and Peter's just like, I'm not going to say anything to this crazy dude. And he, like, crawls over, he's like, sir, you might want to turn this off. He's like, no! And he just slaps him with his arm, which is, like, the first of many times in this movie where he just slaps him against a wall. You're just like, damn.
Big slaps, pretty much.
It's kind of like the Green Goblin. Like, you can feel the punches in this movie.
Yes, you can feel, like, the impact of punches that everyone is getting, like Spider-Man or Otto Octavius.
Yeah, and of course Octavius is, being stubborn. He doesn't want to shut it down, and of course it's his dream too. So that he has a lot of emotional investment in this project.
Yeah.
And well, he ends up, and then the window breaks, and then his wife dies when a glass goes into her eye. Just ugh. That's a great scene too, because you can see the mirror shattering, and it just kind of, you can see the mirror reflecting her face, and it's like coming across. And great scene.
Oh yeah.
And it also gets you to really feel bad for this character later on. But yeah, that's really sad. It's really sad because you can see that they really got along earlier. They had chemistry,
Yeah, and yeah, you can really feel like his pain throughout the movie. Even when she dies, she's like, Rosie!
He's like, Rosie, no! Turns around and the inhibitor chip gets fried, and you're like, oh, damn it, this is gonna not go well.
No.
But, yeah, it's just... but then Spider-Man comes in, Peter comes in and shuts the thing down and destroys in the process.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go real quick. I have to get something. Keep them entertained. I'll be right back.
Alright. After Spider-Man shuts off the machine, we see Harry, and he says, I have nothing left except Spider-Man. And this guy says, he saved your life, sir. And he's like, and then Harry's like, he humiliated me by touching me. And then we see Rosie's dead body. And, oh man, you really feel Otto's pain throughout the movie, as we said before. And then we get to the hospital scene, which I'm going to wait for Brit to come back because I really want to talk about that scene.
Alright, I'm back.
We were just getting to the hospital scene.
Oh man, the hospital scene. I was originally gonna get a drink, but I decided I'll wait a little more before I get another drink. But yeah, the hospital scene. Oh man, there were some people out there who were like, Sam Raimi's making superhero movies. He sold out, man, because he used to make these kind of lower budget horror movies like Evil Dead 2. Which is the greatest horror comedy ever made, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
But Sam Raimi's like, you know what? You thought the first movie was too lighthearted? Okay. All right. I'll show you bitches. So he's like, I'm going to create one of the best scenes ever.
Oh, man. I've been waiting to talk about this scene. I love it so much. Like, it felt like a horror movie. It's very Evil Dead.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard people say, like, oh, it's way too violent, but I didn't feel that way at all. I felt it needed to be there to show how destructive Otto could really be if he let himself give into this. I just love this scene.
Oh, yeah, and I mean, Otto's not even conscious during the entire thing. He's just, like, he's just knocked out, and they're trying to get this thing off, which, again, just gives me the heebie-jeebies, because, spine shit.
Oh, yeah. The tentacles are doing the rest. Just killing people left and right.
And then the tentacles come out and just start wrecking everybody.
Yeah, they just start wreaking havoc.
And, you feel bad for these poor doctors. They didn't do anything wrong. They're just like...
Yeah.
It's not really Otto's fault because he was, like, unconscious the whole time. And apparently these things just happen to gain artificial intelligence. So, okay. I'll suspend my disbelief, though. But I digress. So these things end up waking up and they turn red, which nice little details that they turn red when they're in control, and then they turn white when Otto is in control.
Yes. And also another great detail, seeing like their point of view on how they see stuff.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Also John Landis is in the scene. Huh, that's weird. He's who also made the other greatest horror comedy film ever made, An American Werewolf in London. Is that a coincidence? I don't think so. But he's one of the scientists who gets killed. One of them tries to like chainsaw the arm, but that doesn't really work, and he ends up dying. So, yeah, at least he tried. The rest of them are just screaming, and there's one whose nails are like dragging across the floor, which is, again, it's just, and it's like coming off, and it's like, ugh, God, and the sound just, Wait, is Otto paralyzed aside from the four arms? I never remembered that.
He's not paralyzed.
No, he's not. Okay. I thought not, but I wanted to make sure. But yeah. So the arms are sentient now. And just murders everybody.
Yeah, and Otto gains consciousness, and then he just, like, screams, no! And then just, the tentacles just, like, break out of the hospital.
Oh, yeah, you know, and I love me big dramatic nose. Like, you know, Star Wars, that's my shit. And they're like the best at just big dramatic nose.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Even though the one from Revenge of the Sith was kind of corny. But I just love big dramatic nose, and it's like one of the best. Just when Otto just has his breakdown, like, no! And the arms kind of shriek along with him.
They do.
And then he walks out of the hospital, which another thing I really like about this movie is the foreboding of the arms. You can just hear them coming, like, boom, 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 boom. I really like that.
Oh, yeah. It creates a lot more tension.
Yeah, I also love the behind-the-scenes stuff. Like, I don't know if you've seen the behind-the-scenes for Spider-Man 2. They're freaking hilarious. There's also one where Alfred Molina, this become a meme, but he was prepping for Fiddler on the Roof when they were filming this movie, because he acted in stage productions as well. So he's saying, if I were a rich man, while the puppet arms were clanking and he was snapping at the same time. Very funny. I always think of that, though.
I remember that. I always watch the behind-the-scenes of the Spider-Man trilogy, the Sam Raimi movies. And there's also another, like, great, funny thing, blooper with Alfred Molina. He's just like, hawk, 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 hawk.
Yeah. But, yeah, Otto is just kind of freaked out because he's like, oh shit, I got these 4 arms on me now. And flips a car over and he's like, okay, I guess I need to get out of here and figure out what I'm going to do. And so he goes to this harbor, which becomes kind of his hideout.
Yeah.
And he's, and again, one of the things I really like about Molina's performance, he brings a lot of pathos to the character of Dr. Octopus. The comics, he's kind of this megalomaniacal genius guy, but in the movie, he's kind of this, he's probably the most sympathetic version of Dr. Octopus since, like, the game.
I agree.
And he's just, like, he's like, he comes back to this harbor area, which, I don't know, is that the building that blew up with, Harry? Because I thought that was, like, in the middle of town.
It was in the middle of town.
I guess it was some other place he was, like, acquainted with. I don't know. But he takes it back and he's just like, and of course he's, monologuing to himself about how, he feels really bad about what happened to his wife.
Yeah. And he's just, like, saying, my Rosie's dead. My dream is dead.
He's like, these monsters should be in the river, as well as me. And then the AI, who definitely don't want to die, they're like, hey, maybe you can continue. And he's like, I hear a voice. And just great acting there by Alfred Molina again, because, we don't hear the voice, thankfully. I think that would have made the movie kind of goofy. These movies are generally kind of grounded, despite some of the goofier elements. But I think it would have been kind of weird if you heard, like, hello, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I love that they didn't go, like, the schizophrenic route, kind of like how they did it with Electro in Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah. They didn't make a repeat with Norman in the first movie.
Yeah, and, I like that he just says out loud what they're thinking, the tentacles.
He's like, but I don't have any money. And they're like, yeah. He's like, go rob the bank. And he's all like, but I'm not a criminal. And then he's, and then once again, Molina really nails the kind of over the top villainy moments without coming off as super hammy. Because then he kind of rises up off the ground with the arms. He's like, we're gonna continue the experiment, and I forget exactly what he says, but
He says, we'll do it here. The power of the sun on the palm of our hands. Nothing will stand in our way. Nothing!
Yeah. So basically, now Dr. Octavius has become evil, and, not evil, but he's basically, gone to the dark side, and he's gonna continue his experiment. By any means necessary.
Yes.
Oh, I think this is where we get to the bank scene, which is,
yes.
Also great. And Joel McHale plays the bank vault guy. I don't know what it is, but every time I see Joel McHale in a movie, I'm just like, to quote the great Donald Trump, I'd like to punch him in the face, because, I don't know, he just always plays, like, these really douchey characters. I don't know, I guess he just has that face or something.
No, he's always played a douche asshole. I remember in Ted he played a douche, and in Spider-Man 2 he definitely plays a douche.
Yeah. I've seen a poor guy. Joel McHale, like, got nothing against you, okay? Yeah, I guess you just have one of those faces. I'm sorry, man. I haven't seen Community yet. So basically he's this jerk-ass, bank vault guy. He's, like, trying to be nice, but he's really douchey. But I don't know, he exuberates douche.
He does. He just has douche written all over him.
Yeah. And, like, Aunt May is, like, trying not to get the house foreclosed on. She's, like, trying to pull out anything to get it going. And Peter's with her, and she's all like, my Uncle Ben's, life insurance. He's like, yeah, sorry, we can't really do that. He's like, I'm giving piano lessons again. And Peter's like, you are? And then she accidentally kicks Joel McHale. She's trying to kick Peter. He's like, ow. Ah. It's like, oh. And you're like, oh, man. I hope that, I do wonder if that was genuinely an accident, but Sam's like, fuck it, we'll keep it in.
Yeah, just for comedic sake, I guess.
And then he's like, well, at least I'll get this free toaster. And he's all like, that expired a couple of weeks ago. Like, man, all these characters get shit on in this movie.
Yeah, like, you saw Peter was getting shit on. There are other, like, characters getting shit on.
The Parkers are getting shit on.
Yeah, I mean, Aunt May's getting evicted from her home.
Oh,
and
yeah.
she came, and she thought she was going to get a free toaster, but no, expired a few months ago. Or days.
Yeah, she's like, fine. But, then we get the iconic introduction of, Otto Octavius as Dr. Octopus. And it's a great scene. I love his theme song.
Me too.
And also, again, Molina just makes Dr. Octopus seem just so classy. Like, I don't know.
He does. He makes it iconic, along with Danny Elfman's brilliant Otto Octavius score.
Oh, hell yeah. It's like, it's great. I was actually watching a cover on the piano. His name's like Samuel Kuhn or something. Very good if you look it up. He basically covers all the Spider-Man themes from all the movies. And
yeah, I've seen him. Like, brilliant.
Oh man, yeah, he did a good job, and but yeah, Otto just kind of starts. He just basically wrecks all these cops, like you said. The destructive power of those arms just really can give him an advantage over everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And he can be pretty scary with those arms.
Oh, for sure.
He also just pulls I also like how he, uses his arms along with their arms to control it. Really nice. Little touch there.
Oh, yeah. Nice little detail.
Which he does that throughout the movie, but, again, I digress. So he takes it off, and he takes the vault door off, and I always thought this was hilarious. It's like this Scrooge McDuck gold coins are in there. It's like bags of... It's like something out of a classic comic book. It's great. I love it.
I love it. Yeah, as you said, it just screams like something from a classic comic book.
Just like the corny villain is... Or not really corny, but, the classic villain takes gold coins from the bags, and the hero comes in to try and save the day. It's it's beautiful.
Classic, classic comic book scene.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's like The Incredibles also did this really well. It's just a classic comic book superhero setup, you know.
It really is.
And again, which is one of my favorite part about these two movies, is that they're not afraid to get to the action-y comic book superhero stuff.
Yes.
There's not a vein of pretentiousness in this movie. It's just.
Yep. Perfect way to describe it.
And I actually like the first fight between Spider-Man and Dr. Octavius. When he shows up and he's like, hey, shows up and you can hear I guess Dr. Octavius has spider sense too, because he can hear Spider-Man coming. He just launches some money bags at him. And there's actually some pretty underrated quips in the scene, and everyone's all like, Tobey doesn't quip that much. And that also reminds me of the High Top video, and he just spams it with the weird robotic guy who names all the stuff. He's like, has none quips.
Oh yeah, he says well, if you're just trying to stop a train, you can't do any quips because you're too busy trying to stop a train.
Yeah, but there's some pretty underrated quips in this movie. Like he says, "Here's your change," and throws it right at him, and he just hits him. He's like, "Ugh,"
Oh,
and
yeah.
Then Peter gets slapped around a little bit, and then Otto brings him towards him, and he says, hello. He's like, hello. He's like, you're annoying me. I have a habit of that. He's like, I have a knack for that. He's like, no longer. And then he almost just crushes his head. And I really like that line. I have a knack for that. That's just perfect Spider-Man right there.
Oh, yeah. As you said, Otto's like, you're getting on my nerves. I have a knack for that. Not anymore. I'm gonna crush your skull.
I'm gonna crush it. You're just like, ugh.
She's like, shit.
I don't want to think of that. A spider kebab. Ugh. Or that's not the right one. Anyway. Well, Peter ends up. His power started effing up. That's why Otto got him with the money. He's like, he got him, and he's like, ha! Which I really like that too.
Me too.
You can tell Molina's kind of like Defoe. You can tell he's just having a blast playing this character.
Oh yeah, he's just having so much fun playing this character.
And then he pulls him, and they have their little, back and forth. And again, I think they get the Dr. Octopus Spider-Man dynamic down pretty well, which is that they kind of quip at each other. They got good banter.
Yeah, they do have good banter. I love it.
Which I would say they didn't do that in the Spider-Man game, but they were kind of going for a more tragic thing in the Spider-Man game, so that kind of made sense. But I digress.
Yeah.
Great game though.
For sure.
It's like, hey, let's make the best game ever, Spider-Man. Can't wait for Spider-Man 2. The game, not the movie, because we're talking about the movie. But Spider-Man manages to get his powers back. His powers kick back on. It's kind of like a car trying to get a car started, and he ends up launching him out of there. And then he launches him out, and he hits a taxi, and then Octavius is like, fuck this, and he starts throwing shit at Spider-Man, almost killing him. You're like, ugh, man. Then, who else does he kidnap but Aunt May? Because of course he does.
Yeah.
Again, classic superhero. The grandma gets kidnapped by the supervillain, and the hero's like, "Oh dear, this isn't good." And he's like, "Don't follow me," and then he starts donk, donk, donk. Again, really like that detail where they kind of make it foreboding.
Yeah, just like constant stomping, stomp, stomp.
Yeah, he's like crawl. Apparently, they actually did it to the beat of "If I Were a Rich Man" from Fiddler on the Roof, because that meme we were talking about earlier.
Huh.
I didn't know that. That's kind of cool. I knew about the the behind the scenes thing, but that's pretty cool too. I wouldn't have guessed that, but hey, that's a cool little detail. Back to those extras that are really memorable. There's one lady who's like, "What is that?" This is probably the scene where it's just like, was this necessary? No. Was it still pretty funny? Hell yes.
Yeah, we're just gonna throw it in there anyway.
We're just gonna. Sam Raimi's just like, fuck it, we're throwing it in there. And this lady's like, what is that? And this lady, I guess this lady was just really thrilled to be in this movie because she's like, I'm gonna fucking act the shit out of this one scene. And and as she starts, and the claw just comes through, and she just starts screaming, and everyone's just running around freaking out. And then she runs towards the camera and just screams at the camera. It's just like, whoa.
I fucking love it. Like,
it's so good. It's so good.
And she's just like screaming. Like, you can tell, like, she as you said, like, she really wanted to be in this movie, and she's like, yeah, I'm gonna act my ass off.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a guess. I don't know who she was, but that's just my guess. She's like, I'm gonna act the shit out of this scene. Oh my god, it's so funny.
I love it.
It's so good. Yeah, it's so good. Oh man. But yeah, Spider-Man's like, shit, he took my aunt? What the... Oh yeah, there's another little nitpick that people have with this movie, and I don't know really what to think of it. Yeah, it is kind of a problem, but I'd like to think that it's like this kind of, head thing. I don't know. But Aunt May, Peter just kind of ditches Aunt May. Oh yeah, it reminds me of a great Aunt May scene. But Aunt May doesn't get mad at Peter for running off on her, and Joel McHale just like, oh yeah, real hero your nephew is, and you're like, fuck you.
Like, fuck off.
Yeah, fuck off.
Fucking douche.
Yeah, exactly. I also love when he starts throwing the Scrooge McDuck bags, and he just like, it rolls towards him, and he tries to like pocket it, and then Aunt May just slaps it right out of him, slaps his hand. He's like, ow. And apparently Aunt May is just good at slapping hands in these first two movies, because she does that to Norman in the last movie before he starts, like, kind of erotically, like, licking his fingers and doing the knife thing. But I digress.
Just one slap, and they'll immediately stop.
It's so funny. It's like, I'm glad that he got something, because, God, that guy was annoying. But, I would have been surprised. I wouldn't... that is a little nitpick, though, because Aunt May does... Either she heavily suspects, or they, like, talked about it later and we didn't see it. Like, what do you think, Jacob?
I think she knows that he's Spider-Man, but doesn't want to say it out loud. She just gives him, like, little hints. I'm like, my nephew, I know that you're Spider-Man.
Yeah, and again, I love Rosemary Harris. She's like my grandma.
Oh, yeah. Love her.
She reminds me of my grandma. And if my grandma watches this, A, I apologize for the swearing, if you've gotten this far. And B, love you. This movie makes me think of you. So, yeah, I want to get that out there. But, but yeah. And, so... Doc Ock, of course. Who else to kidnap but the old lady who looks like she just lost her cat up a tree, And he just starts climbing up, and that lady we were talking about, that whole thing happens. And then Spider-Man jumps up to like try and save her, and then here's another good part of Alfred Molina just fucking nailing it as Dr. Octopus. This boy's mad troll, and he's like, hey, give her to me. He's like, but of course, and he just starts handing her over. And then he drops her, and you're like, oh no! And then he just says, Butterfingers.
I love that.
It's so good. Alfred Molina is so good in this movie.
I love him so much in this movie.
Oh my god.
Just chews the scenery.
And yeah, Spidey just of course jumps after his aunt, and then he catches her and manages to take her up to this statue of an angel. I'm guessing, which good thing that it wasn't a weeping angel. That would have been a whole other problem. But I digress. But Peter catches her, puts her on, and then she's all freaked out about flying or dropping, and then he's fighting Dr. Octopus, and then she's just like, oh, and she like, it's like a really intense scene, and she like steps on the thing, and she's like, oh, thank you. And then it snaps, and then Dr. Octopus just takes her, or we'll just call him Doc Ock from now on. How's that, Jacob? We'll call him Doc Ock. Doc Ock kidnaps her again, takes her up, and then he like holds her she has her cane with her, and he like holds her back, and then back to that whole thing where he says that hammy villain dialogue, but he just freaking sells it in this movie. Like he gives the whole, I'm gonna put your death on your conscience. And then he's like, oh boy, he's got Aunt May, and he's about to and Spider-Man's just like, oh man, he's like hyping himself up, he's webbing, he's about to sling over there. And then, and then Dr. Octavius, and then Doc Ock just like ends up like getting this little knife out, and Rosemary Harris's Aunt May, just in her most like astounded grandma way, she's like, shame on you. Which I love that too. So many great little things in this scene that just make it awesome.
Oh, I know, right?
And she ends up whacking him with his stick, and he's like, ah, and he drops her again. Then Peter saves her, and they have a nice little thing. And Doc Ock is like, shit. And they start shooting at him. The cops start shooting at him. And then he just, like, crawls away.
Yeah, he gets away with the money.
Yeah.
And then Spider-Man...
Which I'm surprised he managed to keep all that money, because, it's like... I thought he lost it all throwing all those money sacks at Spider-Man. But I digress.
After all the fight, you're still managed to keep some. And then Spider-Man saves Aunt May. And then she's like, oh, how I've been wrong about you. And then he's like... And then Spidey's like, we sure showed him. And then Aunt May's like, what do you mean, we? And Spidey, like, oh, just swings away.
Yeah, another classic Peter Parker was like, oops, Freudian slip. See you later. Just, like, flies off.
I love that.
Oh, man, it's so good. But again, I wonder if that's where Aunt May, aside from that part where he, like, kicks her out of the way with his chair, like, wow, nephew, great reflexes. Where'd you learn that? But, I think the implication is, I might be a dummy here, but I think the implication is that she knows.
Yeah, I think she knows, and as I said, I think she knows, but doesn't want to say it out loud.
I don't know if she doesn't want to say it, but she's kind of like, I don't know if I want to say it. Well, you know what? Yeah, you're right. I walked into that.
Yeah, basically says it to Peter without saying it.
Exactly.
Like, I know you're Spider-Man, but yeah.
I know you're Spider-Man, but I'm not gonna say it, I think it's actually really beautifully done in the game, which I'm gonna digress a little bit again. But when she's like, spoilers for the Spider-Man game, but when she's dying and she's like, I want to see my nephew, it's like, man. Such an emotional scene.
You're tugging at my heartstrings.
But anyway, so Daily Bugle, back at Daily Bugle with the boy, J. Jonah Jameson, back at it again. And he's yelling at Hoffman about, hey, there's this new freak running around. What are we gonna call him? And he's like, this is a good little scene here. And Ted Raimi's like, Doctor Strange, and J. Jonah Jameson's like, ooh, that's good, but it's taken. Which is a little reference to Doctor Strange from the Marvel Comics.
Oh, yeah.
Which then makes me wonder, I wonder what Doctor Strange is in this world, but I digress.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, did he? Did we get to the? Did we skip over the Bruce Campbell scene? Have we gotten to that yet?
No, we haven't.
Oh no, we haven't. Okay.
We missed some little scenes, little parts of the movie.
I know we've probably missed some parts that we're not talking about, but have we gotten to the Bruce Campbell scene?
Yeah, we missed that one. We haven't talked about that one yet.
Oh, we did? Oh, well.
We haven't.
Oh, we haven't?
No.
Did we skip over it? Was that?
Yeah. We skipped the scene where Peter's trying to get to MJ's play, and then two robbers are driving away, and then, another funny little scene I have to mention. When the thieves are, like, coming up to Peter, he just, like, flips over them, and there are two kids, and they're like, how'd you do that? And then classic Peter Parker, he's like, work out, plenty rest, eat your green vegetables. And one of the kids, they say, that's what my mom has always said. I just never actually believed her.
Yeah, that is a good thing. I forgot about. I thought that was the scene where the lady was like, "Go, Spidey, go!" But I guess I was wrong there.
That was after that.
Then we get to the. I think we get to the Bruce Campbell scene real quick, which I'll just say, man, Bruce Campbell. We know him and love him as Ash Williams, but not a bad actor at all. Like I already knew he was a very charismatic. He has a lot of screen presence, but when he has to act a part, like he's good. He's very good.
Yeah, just his little cameos in the first one, second one, and even the third one, really good.
I think my favorite Bruce Campbell cameo is still the first one, but this one's pretty good too.
I agree.
Where he's just this douchebag. Martin or Maton E, or however you say that, Maitre D, who's not wanting to let him in, and she's all and Mary Jane's doing her play, and then Peter's not there, and back to that whole heroism is pain thing, and also asked the question about who's really the hero, Peter or Spider-Man, yada yada. But again, we'll get more into that. And then him and MJ have this argument, and he starts spewing his poetic dialogue, which, if this were a George Lucas movie, I probably would have laughed at it, but, again, all about that execution.
Yep. We say it here all the time on this channel.
It's like our secondary catchphrase on here.
Yeah, all about execution.
But yeah, and she's all and then Mary Jane says her kind of goofy dialogue, but she makes it work, where she's like, all I see is an empty seat. And then she's like, fuck you, and then she goes away.
Yep. And even just subtle details, you thought Peter was getting pounded in the dirt. There were a couple of times where he was just trying to grab some food or a drink, and someone would either snatch it away from him, or he would grab one and it would already be empty.
Oh yeah, that's a little later on. Another example of that is when he tries to get flowers for Mary Jane, but then the guy just takes some and he has 4 left.
Mm-hmm.
Which again, classic Peter Parker.
But
back to the Daily Bugle. So back to our boy JJ Jameson. He and Hoffman are, chilling, and he's all what's a good name for this guy? And Hoffman's like, Dr. Octopus. He's like, eh. And then he's like, Doctor Strange. He's like, it's not bad. It's taken. Which, funnily enough, Sam Raimi is going to be directing Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which, oh boy, he's been gone for a while. I haven't seen him. I think the last movie he made was the James Franco Wizard of Oz movie.
Oh yeah, he's mostly been producing. He was a producer on the movie Crawl, which I recommend. Pretty good movie.
I haven't seen that one.
But yeah, I'm really excited for him to take on Doctor Strange 2, even after the very meh first Doctor Strange.
Yeah, we probably will talk about that once Doctor Strange season comes along.
Yeah.
But if anyone, I guess Sam Raimi really likes the Stanley Steve Ditko characters because, Spider-Man's a lead Ditko creation, and Doctor Strange. Basically, Ditko created Doctor Strange, but Stanley kind of did his thing.
Yeah.
My nerdiness aside. But then JJ Jameson's like, Dr. Octopus, it's genius. And then Hoffman's like, wait, I came up with that. Doesn't matter. We'll put that in the newspapers. So they dub him Dr. Octopus, or Doc Ock for short.
Yeah. And then Hoffman just says, like, genius. And then classic JJ, he's like, where are you looking for a raise? Get out.
Yeah, exactly. I think this is the scene where Peter comes in, and I don't know if this is right, but Peter ends up coming in, and he's like, hey, what have you been doing? Photographing squirrels? You're fired! And then Betty comes in, and he's like, oh, wait, we need photos for the gala thing. He's like, oh, wait, no, you're not fired. Get back over here. And then Peter comes back, he's like, what do you know about high society? And he's all like, I don't, doesn't matter. My son, they're having a little gala for my son, the astronaut. His son, John Jameson, he's an astronaut. And, which he's a nice foil for Peter, because he's basically everything Peter's not. He's handsome, charismatic. He's not a bad guy. But, again, we'll get more into him. But, he's basically, like, everything Peter's not. He's just, like, successful and whatnot.
Yeah, everything's going good for him, while Peter is...
It's just getting shit on.
Yeah.
And then Peter gives the iconic line, could you pay me in advance? And then Jameson... And then another classic meme. I use this one a lot, because I just love it. But Jameson just gives, like, this just belly laugh at Peter. He's just like... and just like slaps his leg. He's just like, you serious? What do you want me to pay you for? Standing there? He's like, gala, something o'clock. There's the door. You know. Oh man, he's like the worst boss in the world, but he's like really entertaining to watch. Like I would just watch a movie of the Daily Bugle and just what's going on over there.
Yeah, like if Sam Raimi wanted to make a J. Jonah Jameson movie of just him just being him, I would love it.
You probably might need to get a plot in there, but, aside from that, like, oh, man, I'd watch it.
Oh, yeah, who wouldn't?
So Peter's like, oh, shit. So he goes back to his apartment, and he's, like, kind of moping around a little bit. I guess he goes over there. Or, I don't know. I'll be right back again. Keep the audience busy again. I'll be right back. I'm gonna get a drink.
All right.
My mouth's getting dry.
All right. When J. Jonah Jameson says, be at there tomorrow at 8 o'clock, there's the door. Cuts to, we already talked about this, where he's, saying, Otto Octavius is saying, my Rosie's dead. We've already talked about this scene. We're kind of all over the place, but, whatever. We've already talked about that scene. Yeah, we've already talked about that scene. I think we're going to get to the planetary, where Peter runs into MJ and Harry. And, yeah, we get to that scene where Peter's at the planetary. And he's just trying to take pictures. There's this one little scene where he's trying to take a picture of these people, but then the lenses is covered. Then he removes it, takes it off, and then he takes it off, and they're already gone. We see here Harry just drinking a bottle of whiskey, some sort. I don't know.
I'm back. What's up? Where were we at?
We were at the where Peter goes to the planetary, where J. Jonah Jameson's son and MJ are there.
Oh yeah, that's where Peter's talking about the "punch me, I bleed" thing. I thought that was earlier, but I guess this is that was earlier.
That's wrong.
I don't know.
Later on, he loses his powers for a while.
Oh, Well, but yeah. So Peter goes to the gala, and it's just a shit show the whole time for Peter. I mean, oh yeah. Harry's been bugging Peter about who Spider-Man is, so he could go gun for him. Even though, and Peter's not telling him because he is Spider-Man. And Harry decides to take this planetarium as an excuse to get shit-faced.
Yeah, like he's like drunk and he just like slaps Peter. He's like, "Isn't that right? Huh? Is that right? Huh,
Yeah.
brother?" Heartbreaking scene.
Yeah, I mean, he's like, at first Peter's like, "Yo, man, might wanna chill out on the booze." He's all like, "Yo, who's Spider-Man, bro?" And he's all like, "Man, I'm not telling you." It's just like, "Oh, fuck you," and he like goes off, and then then J. Jonah Jameson, he's being himself. He's just like, "Parker, get over here, take some photos for my son," and his son just is like, "Hey, everyone, just so you know, I'm gonna marry that beautiful woman right there. She just said yes, okay? So, yeah, Peter Parker right there, you're fucked."
Yeah, like this movie, they're just like pounding him into the dirt.
All right, I think that was after he had his or no, this was before he had the conversation with MJ about, really, you gonna marry that guy? But just one of the funny things about this, Jameson's son is just like the exact opposite of his dad. I just think that's freaking hilarious.
The exact opposite.
Like
you would never think that was his son.
Like, he's nice and, he's nice and charming and, not that J. Jonah Jameson isn't successful, but he's pretty successful and, I mean, I'm sure he loves his dad and I'm sure, you can tell that J. Jonah Jameson's proud of his son in his way. But, yeah, I just think it's hilarious. Like, they're basically the opposite. Like,
the polar opposite.
Yeah, they're just polar. Like, JJ, he's just this really loudmouth, like, gregarious, like, asshole. But his son's just, like, really nice. And it's, like, it's just funny. I don't know.
No, it's hilarious.
And, it's not like John Jameson's, like, dicking with Peter or anything. Like, he's nice, Like, he's a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
But,
yeah.
Oh
yeah.
Then the scene where Harry slaps the shit out of Peter, heart-wrenching scene, because we finally get to see the pent-up just resentment that Harry has for Peter and for Spider-Man. He's telling him how he stole his father's love and whatnot, and you can tell he's drunk, and he slaps him in the face twice, and it's just so sad.
Yeah.
To see these great friends just fall apart.
Yeah, like, Harry's just basically letting all of his emotions out and how he has felt, and he's just, just furious and just heartbroken at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, it's way better done than in the third movie, but again, we'll get to that next week. It's just really sad. And then right after that is when John Jameson's like, "Oh, she said yes, we're gonna get married," and then she comes down and they're gonna get married, and Peter's just like, shit.
Yeah, he's just he could have been his breaking point.
Yes.
Other than him losing his powers, that was his breaking point. It's like first my grades are failing. My best friend has slapped me in the face.
Basically accused me of stealing his dad's love and slapped me and then left.
And now the love of my life, she doesn't want to have anything to do with me, and now she's marrying this successful astronaut guy.
Now she's marrying the son of my asshole boss.
What else could go wrong? Why does the world hate me so much?
Yeah, then Peter's just like, fuck this. And then he starts, swinging around. I think this is the part where he's, swinging around, and then his powers fuck up again.
Yeah.
And then he, like, falls, which, you know, again, you're like, damn, like, that didn't fucking kill him? Whew. Then he has to take the elevator, which comes to this really awkward scene where this dude's just like, hey, how's it going? He's like, oh, don't you swing around? It's like, have some... I don't know, Peter makes up his, like, Peter awkward excuse, and he's all like, okay. It's
yeah,
like,
funny little scene.
Yeah, he's all like, so, how... And Sam Raimi's great at this. He's great at just these uncomfortable little moments, which we get a lot more of in Spider-Man 3. Which I don't know who to blame that on, if that's Sam Raimi's thing, or if that's the studio, but I digress, again.
Yeah.
But yeah, Peter, and, so, yeah, fuck, I just lost track of what I was saying. Hey, what was I saying, Jacob? I just lost track of what I was saying.
You were talking about the elevator scene, which happened before.
Oh, it happened before? Yeah, that great little scene right there. But back to Gala, yeah, Peter's fucked. He's like, he goes back home, his powers are fucking up again, and then Peter has, like, this dreamlike state where he sees Uncle Ben. And, you know, I've seen this movie a few times, and, damn, I mean, I don't cry very much. I didn't cry at the scene, but, man, this gets you. It gets you and it gets you.
Yeah, like, it's such a moving scene. Like, it's really powerful because you're watching a person give up. Like, he is done. He doesn't want to do what he was meant to do, and you really feel it.
Yeah, it's sort of the apotheosis of his arc of Peter struggling with Spider-Man and wondering, I mean, is it even worth it? Because now everything's going to shit. My best friend's pissed off at me, wants nothing to do with me. The woman I love wants nothing to do with me.
Yep.
And then, it's like, what's the point of being Spider-Man?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, Uncle Ben died, and that really sucked, and I still feel awful about that, but, you know, what's the point of being Spider-Man?
Yeah, Uncle Ben, in his dream, he's like, great powers, great responsibility. And he's like, take my hand, son. And he's like, no, I'm just Peter Parker. I'm Spider-Man no more.
Yeah, and then he says in his bed, like, I'm Spider-Man no more. It's, like, really, really just, it's sad, you know?
Yeah, like, you feel him, like, yeah, like, I'm done. Being Spider-Man has brought me nothing but bad to this point.
Yeah, I mean, Doug Walker made a video, just, like, top 11 dumb Spider-Man moments. It's funny, but, you know, I mean, I like the movie, so I'm a little more biased towards it. There's some I agreed with, there was some I didn't. But he kind of was like, or no, it was old versus new Spider-Man. And he's all like, he just kind of quit because it's hard. I don't agree with that. I think he kind of undersold that. It wasn't that it was hard. It was that it was basically destroying his life.
Yeah, exactly.
But I digress. Then we get to yet another iconic scene. There's tons of these in this movie. The raindrops keep falling on my head scene. Which is just...
I love that.
I'd love to say it's kind of shot like Peter's on a vacation of sorts. And he kind of is.
Oh, yeah. Like, he's just living a life. Like, I'm Peter Parker again. No more Spider-Man. No more hard choices. No more getting shit on.
And things actually kind of start picking up for Peter, you know? Like, he's... it's such a funny scene. I actually like the song choice. Like, and a lot of people... I'm sure a lot of people were like, well, that was dumb. And then they're greeted by this scene. I love it, but it's just like... And Peter, like, takes this Peter is like... He sees the cop cars going that way, and he's almost like by habit, he almost goes, and then he kind of like, oh yeah, I'm on vacation. And he like takes this gigantic bite of his hot dog. It's just...
Yeah, he's like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and I just it's basically the better version of the dancing scene from Spider-Man 3, in my opinion.
Oh, by far.
Like, it captures the geeky energy of Peter Parker just living his life, and he's just a total goober, but it's not like cringy, you know, like in Spider-Man 3.
No, it's realistic in a way.
Yeah, well, I don't know if realistic's the right word, but I'll go with it.
I say realistic.
Yeah.
my personal opinion.
Yeah.
In a comic booky world, I say realistic.
Yeah, I would say it's real. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, I'll give you that. I'll give you that, Jacob. But, like, he trips and falls, and he's like, oh, yeah, I forgot, I can't really see that well, so putting on the glasses. So now he's back to just Peter Parker, and things start looking up for Peter. His grades start going back up, and there's, he does well in class, and Dr. Connor's like, good job, Peter, you're really stepping up. There's this just hilarious pause shot of just him going, it's so freaking hilarious.
I know, that freeze frame shot. Oh my dear lord, that's hilarious.
Which I don't know why. I don't know why they did that, but it's funny.
I just love it. It's just original and different. Like, this is so Sam Raimi.
Yeah, it's just Sam Raimi. Like, I'm gonna do my thing.
Yeah, he's just like, fuck it, I'm gonna add this in there because why not?
Yeah. But it's not like it's just like this wasted scene or anything. It does show the Peter as a normal guy. You know, he's like, I'm not Spider-Man anymore. I'm gonna, and like I said, it's kind of shot like he's on a vacation or something.
Yeah.
Except the vacation is just him living his normal life.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and then after a while, he starts kind of trying to get his life back to normal. He tries to reconcile with Mary Jane a little bit. He's trying to talk with Harry, but again, Harry's still pissed at him and doesn't want to talk to him. He talks to Aunt May, which is a great scene, where he ends up finally telling her what actually happened that night with Uncle Ben.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really... What?
Saying that, basically saying that he was partially responsible for Uncle Ben's death.
And I love how they do the scene. It's not like an overly dramatic thing, and she's just kind of... And, she doesn't say anything. I really like that part of the scene. Like, she doesn't say anything. She just kind of takes it in, and then she goes upstairs for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
To kind of process the information.
Yeah, just need to process it. Just has to think about it for a little bit.
Yeah, also the crime rate starts going up, and that makes Peter uneasy.
Yeah.
It showcases that Peter is still a hero, even though he's now just Peter Parker.
Yeah, Chris mentioned this in his review. He said, it felt tacked on. It didn't feel part of the story. But I don't agree. As you said, it just shows that Peter Parker is still a hero, even when he's not Spider-Man.
Yeah, it's like the burning building scene, which I'll get to in a minute. But, it's like the burning building scene where Peter where Peter saves that kid. Chris said that was kind of tacked on, and I don't know if I quite agree. I think it's meant to show that even though he's not really Spider-Man anymore, Peter Parker's still the hero.
Yeah. I don't really agree with him on that. I can understand where he's coming from, but as you said, it shows that Peter's a hero even without being Spider-Man and having the powers.
Yeah. Also, Peter throws away his suit, which might be a bad idea, but anyway... some garbage man's like, hey, he goes to J. Jonah Jameson again. And he's like, hey, I got this suit from Spider-Man. I got this suit. I think it might interest you. And, of course, J. Jonah Jameson can't, resist the opportunity to he can't resist the opportunity to take the suit of Spider-Man. So that's what he does. And there's this really hilarious deleted scene where he's like running around and shooting webs and I don't know if you've seen it, Jacob, but it's great.
Yeah, they added it in the extended version of the film, and man, I love that. I love that.
It's like J. Jonah Jameson's kind of secretly like, it'd be kind of fun being Spider-Man.
And then you see Robbie and Betty and Hoffman just just like, okay.
Yeah, Betty thinks it's hilarious. I mean, it's just a...
Yeah. Robbie's just like shaking his head.
Robbie's just like,
oh,
what
God.
the hell is he doing?
And Hopper's just like, okay. I love that.
Yeah, it's... Oh, man. Yeah, so Peter continues on with his normal life, and he also ends up going to see Aunt May later on, and she just gives him this really heartfelt speech. And she ends up forgiving him for what happened to Uncle Ben. She says, you know what, I thought about it, and you know what, I don't hate you or anything. I mean, you're like my son, basically. I love you, Peter. You know, they hug it out. Then she just gives him this, like, really heartfelt speech. Again, kind of implicating that she knows he's Spider-Man.
Yeah. Saying it without saying it.
Mm-hmm. And she gives some really inspirational words to him. And Peter just... It's like, alright, you know. And Peter's still being Peter, and he decides to try and get to Mary Jane and tell her, hey, let's meet, and she agrees to meet him at this coffee shop. Or no, we're not there yet, actually.
No. He was on top of the building trying to get back his powers.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Oh, yeah, he does think he gets his powers back at first, and, he's, like, jumping across the rooftops just like the first movie, but nope, it fails. He ends up, like, falling down and hurting his back, which, you know, there's also another meme for you.
Yeah.
My back!
I'm back! And then, like, whoop!
And he's like, oh, my back! Which apparently was, like, a in-joke, because Tobey Maguire was having back issues before making Spider-Man 2.
Oh, yeah. And then Jake Gyllenhaal was going to replace him, which is funny because he played Mysterio.
Which is funny because he eventually became Mysterio, yeah. Then I think that's when he goes to meet Aunt May, and then we get to the, he needs tritium. Doc Ock needs tritium, so he goes to Harry, and he's like, hey, I need that tritium. And he's all like, hey man, I blew all my money trying to get your fucking thing off the ground. Like, I don't have shit. So then Octavius is like, okay. Harry's like, alright, fine, I'll give you the tritium if you give me Spider-Man. Because he thinks he's responsible for his dad's death.
Yeah.
And, he tells, Doc Ock to talk with Peter, who Harry thinks, he's, like, in cahoots with Spider-Man. Because, he takes his photos.
Mm-hmm.
But he does tell Doc Ock not to harm Peter, because, despite the fact he's pissed off at Peter, he still kind of loves Peter.
Yeah, like, he's still my boy.
Octavius decides, okay, I'm just gonna not do that. I'm gonna throw a car at him, but again, we're getting to that. So, Peter decides to, go with Mary Jane to some, like, coffee shop. I think it's a coffee shop.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he goes to this coffee shop, and again, it's that, will they, won't they thing. Yeah, I really hate in movies when this shit kind of happens, but in this movie, yeah. I can deal with it. You care about these characters, and you're like, you know what? I'll deal with it. But not again, movie.
Yeah.
Don't do it again.
You care about as you said, you care about the characters, so we'll let this one slide.
But don't do it again. But they did it again. in Spider-Man 3. Anyway. So, yeah. So, Peter's, like, hanging out with Mary Jane, like, oh, yeah, how's that astronaut guy you're hanging out with? He's like, oh, he's fine. We had an upside-down kiss the other day. And Peter's like, what? I mean, cool. Yeah, it's totally cool. And Mary Jane's once again like, do you love me? Like, do you like me? And he's all like, and she's like, tries and kisses him, and then I guess that's what kicks his powers back into gear because then he gets a spider sense that something's happening, and then a car gets thrown through the window, and Peter barely manages to save Mary Jane's life and his as he manages to crawl down. Which this isn't. This is probably a nitpick. I mean, I can suspend my disbelief. I mean, but okay, we'll get to it. But back to that thing about the foreboding of Doc Ock's arms. It just goes boom, 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 and I love how Sam Raimi really does that with the effects.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and Peter's just like, what the fuck is that? So then Octavia shows up and just like grabs him, which and then like pulls him. He's like, "Yo, where's your boy Spider-Man?" And he's all like, "I don't know." And he's all like, "Well, you better know, or I'm gonna tear her, or I'm gonna." And he's like, Peter Parker and his girlfriend," and just like snaps up Mary Jane like it's nothing, because it's like every other movie this shit happens.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah.
But then Peter's all like, "If you lay a hand on her," he's all like, he just gives like his most villainous line. He's all like, "Oh, you'll do what?" And then just flings him against the wall.
Yeah, just launches him.
Which, then, I can suspend my disbelief and think, well, of course he didn't die because he's Spider-Man and, he gets enhanced, abilities. But, Harry told him not to harm him. As well as the fact that, he could have killed him if he does not know Peter's Spider-Man, so he's all like, "Oh, yeah, I'm just going to launch this dude against the wall."
Possibly killing him.
Or paralyzing him.
Yeah.
And he ends up leaving with Mary Jane. He's like, "Yeah, tell Spidey to meet me at 3 o'clock on top of the tower." And then he's like, "Okay." Throws him against the wall, leaves, which, I'm like, you think it'd be kind of weird that he threw him against a wall and then he threw a car at him and then threw him against a wall. He could have killed him right there, but I digress.
Yeah.
That is one little nitpick I have. Like, he kind of being a little reckless there, Octavius.
Mm-hmm. Like, a little reckless. Well, just a little bit reckless. But, he's a villain, so...
Yeah, and then we get this epic scene, which is awesome. Another epic scene out of epic scenes where Peter he walks out, he can't see out of his glasses anymore.
Yeah, little reference to the first one.
Yeah, nice little reference to the first one. He takes them off again, puts them on, takes them off again. But then this is kind of, again, back to the apotheosis of his arc. He finally accepts that he's Spider-Man, and he knows what he has to do. And then his fist clenches up, and you're like, "Yeah, Spidey's back, boys.
Let's do this."
Yeah. So then Spidey just goes fucking rogue, basically. Give my cat one second. So Peter's back as Spider-Man, and is this where? No, we're not there yet. So we get to, I'm really dying to get to the Go Spidey Go lady. I'm really excited for that for some reason. We switch to the Daily Bugle and everyone's just like sitting around and looking. They're all bored without Spider-Man, which I think is just freaking hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
And J. Jonah Jameson's about to be like, "Man, that Spider-Man, maybe he wasn't a menace. Maybe he..." And then you can hear like the swish of the web, and then he takes the suit and he gets a note like from your friendly. He's like, "A thief!" Yeah. And he's like, "A menace!" Like he goes right back to, which is so good.
And he's like, "He stole my suit. He's a menace to the entire city." Yeah,
it's hilarious because JK, Molina also, and I talk so much about Molina nailing the kind of hammy comic book dialogue, But JK Simmons does too. I think that's why his Jonah Jameson's so endearing.
Oh yeah, because like first you were like, yeah, Spider-Man was a hero, and when he takes suit back, you're like, he's a thief, a criminal. I want Spider-Man.
He's like, I want Spider-Man. Just like yells. And they're like, oh dear, might have a heart attack. Oh wait, that's the third movie. But then we see Spider-Man just coming back into action, and it just feels freaking awesome. It's like the scene where he beats. It's the scene where you're like, fuck yeah, like when he beats Goblin's ass in Spider-Man 1.
Yeah, just another fuck yeah moment.
And then in another fuck yeah moment, we end up seeing Doc Ock just kind of roaming around up on top of I think it's the Empire State Building? I don't think it is, but it looks like it.
Yeah.
But anyways, so we then get to the subway train fight. Oh
boy.
Oh man, probably that, like this, probably, and the convoy fight scene from The Dark Knight, one of the greatest superhero action scenes of all time.
Oh yeah, the train scene, oh my god. That scene is fucking awesome. There are so many cool moments, like Spidey bouncing himself at the last second by spinning his web, or nearly getting sideswiped by another train, jumping into the train around the bars, or him getting dragged on the pavement and then swinging back on the train as soon as possible. There are so many cool moments in that scene.
Oh my God.
One of the best action scenes ever in a comic book movie.
Oh man, it's just like a crescendo. They're like fighting on the clock tower, then they fall on the train, and then Doc Ock's like, I'm gonna pull the freaking train off, and then he's like throwing people at Spider-Man. He's knocking Spider-Man off, almost gets sideswiped like you said earlier. Like, this scene is just, it's so good. I don't even know how much there is to say about this scene. It's just freaking amazing.
Oh yeah, as I said, one of the best action scenes ever in a comic book movie, for sure.
And, yeah, Doc Ock just, again, it's just a great fight. The choreography's nice, just so much great scenes, like when he flings the webs, then he catches it with his mechanical arms, then he switches back, then he flies up on him, and he kicks him in the chest a couple times, flips, yeah. It kind of tapped my fanboy id for a second.
Oh, yeah.
It's just great. Little fanboy moment. But, this is just a great fight.
Yeah, we love it.
Yeah, we love it. One of the greatest fight scenes of all time. Just so much going on. And then they add insult to injury. Doc Ock decides to sabotage the train controls. And then he hands him the thing, and then back to the morbid sense of humor. I love Molina's line, "Got a train to catch." Then he just kind of gives him a salute and just like goes off to do whatever he was doing.
Oh yeah.
And then excuse me. So Peter ends up losing his mask, and he decides he's gonna stop the train, which is like, shit, how are we gonna do that? So he goes to the front of the train, and he's like trying to he's trying to stop it. He's like, and the guy's like, here's another underrated quip. It's not really a quip, but it's kind of like, you know, a nice little line where he's like, "Hey kid, you got any other ideas?" He's like, "Yeah, a couple." And then he just goes, "Dun dun dun," and he goes, "Dun dun dun," and he like pulls it, and he's trying with everything to stop the damn train. And which is also another memed moment in these movies.
Peter Parker's poop face.
Yeah. But in all seriousness, the scene's actually really good. We see Peter just taken to his limits, man.
Oh yeah.
Like, he's just.
Oh yeah. If you thought the final fight was intense in the first Spider-Man, you haven't seen anything like this.
Oh my god. I think this outdoes the final fight in Spider-Man 1.
Oh, without a doubt. As you said, like, he's like reached to his limits of strength, just like trying to stop it with all of his like power and strength. It's just intense.
Yeah, but then Peter just Oh yeah, little cameo from Phil Lamar of Samurai Jack fame, and he was also the guy who got his face blown off in Pulp Fiction. But yeah, he's in the movie too for a minute. He's one of the passengers on the train. But yeah, Peter is just exhausted at this point and just passes out, but they end up catching him. And I actually think this moment is a lot better. I think this moment with the civilians is a lot better than the civilian scene in Spider-Man 1. Because in Spider-Man 1, it was kind of corny, in my opinion. But in this one, it's just beautiful. Like, they don't, say anything goofy, like, you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us. You mess with Spidey, you mess with New York. None of that shit.
No, as you said, corny, and it just felt tacked on. It just felt like there. But in this one, it's, as you said, it was beautiful. They're just, carrying him in respect and just, dropping him down gently.
Yeah, and apparently it was Tobey's brothers who were in that scene who gave him the spider mask back. They were the kids who gave him the spider mask back.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and, they lay him down, and this dude, pretty cool line as well. Not a cool line, but a really great line as well. He's just this no younger than a kid, no older than my son.
Yeah.
It's just it's just beautiful.
Oh yeah, and as you said, when one of the kids, who by the way, that was actually one of Tobey Maguire's brother.
I thought it was his nephews at first, but no, it's his brothers.
Yeah, which that I didn't know until now.
Mm-hmm.
I was like,
oh. But yeah, they give him the. Yeah, they give him the. They give him the mask back, and he realizes he wasn't wearing his mask, and they're like, "Oh, no worries, we'll keep it for you." But then Doc Ock comes back. He's like, "Hey, stand by. I'm here to get Spider-Man." Then Joey Coco Diaz, who's actually a pretty funny comedian, by the way. He's on Joe Rogan from time to time. He's like, "You're gonna have to come to me." He's just like, and everyone's like, "Yeah, me and me." Again, I think it's way better than. You could say that's cheesy, but I think it's way better than, you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us. You know that. And I'm all isn't that the guy who ripped Peter off earlier? Anyway. But yeah, Doc Ock's like, okay, fine. So he just flings him across the wall against the windows, and then Spider-Man's like, I'll go, it's fine, and then he lets Doc Ock take him. Again, very beautiful scene.
Oh yeah, just seeing all the people on the train just stand up for Spidey, beautiful.
Ah yes. Then we get the third act of this movie, and I mean, I think we're already in the third act of this movie, though. I think that started with the train fight, but I digress. So he takes him to Harry. Doc Ock takes Peter to Harry, and he wrapped him in barbed wire, and Harry gives him the tritium, and he ends up leaving. And Harry's like, "Ah, yeah, boy, I'm gonna kill the guy who killed my dad." He walks up with a knife. It's this great dramatic moment. He ends up taking it off, and he's completely shocked to see it's Peter under the mask.
Yes, I love that scene because it's quick. You expect it to be this drawn out scene, but it's so fast. This film, I love that this film doesn't let too many subplots bog it down, so you forget what the real story is.
Oh yeah. I mean, Harry is just shocked. He's like, oh, so that's why he was late all the time. That's why he didn't give up Spider-Man, because, haha, he is Spider-Man. But again. Mm-hmm. But Peter is like, Harry, listen to me. Where's Doc Ock at? Or where's Octavius at? He's all like, I don't know. I didn't. He's all like, dude, he has Mary Jane. We gotta save him. I gotta know. And he's all like, I don't know. I think Peter deduces where Doc Ock has the, where Doc Ock is. I almost said Doc Ock. Doc Ock. Ah. You have any adding thoughts to this, Jacob?
Yeah. As I said, I love the scene where Harry finds out that Peter is Spider-Man because it's quick and all that. But we get to the scene where Doc Ock is rebuilding the tritium, and MJ once again is a damsel in distress. But in this one, it's like, okay, it's fine, right? It's fine, but don't do it again. Just don't do it again.
But then they did it again.
Yeah, just don't do it again.
Sony, you bastards. No, but yeah, Peter decides to go, and I think this is the part where we get the Go Spidey Go lady, because he's like swinging around. She's like, "Oh yeah, it's Go Spidey Go!" And it's like, yeah, it's like, oh man. Back to the extras, like in the minor characters, like they got so much character in this movie, man. I'm just saying.
I know. So many small characters that have really like memorable scenes, memorable lines, like "Go Spidey Go," or "Whoa, he stole that guy's pizza," or Mr. Aziz even,
and Mr. Ditkovich. Here, I'll be right back
yeah.
again. I'm gonna go do something real quick. Here.
All right.
Keep going.
All right, we get to the final battle between Spider-Man and Doc Ock. Spider-Man tries to save MJ, but Doc Ock stops him, and then he says, "I should have known Osborn wouldn't have the spine to finish you." And that's when they start fighting. And this movie has awesome action scenes, and the final battle is fucking awesome. You just see like them fighting. Spidey, like Doc Ock launches him out of the building, and then Spidey swings back into, and then they just like launch into the water and they just fight. But Spidey's also trying to save MJ. Very intense.
Yeah. Oh, I'm back. But yeah, the final battle scene's pretty good. I mean, it doesn't really hold a candle to the train fight, but hey, it's pretty good too.
Oh yeah.
And he finally starts getting the tritium thing going again, and now it's just going fucking haywire. He's like, I don't give a shit as long as I get my dream. Don't let your dreams be dreams, you know. But anyway, so he starts so they fight for a little bit, and Peter ends up electrocuting him. You're just like, damn, okay. And he pins him against a wall, or not pins him, but he ends up knocking him out a little bit. And I think his mask gets torn off. Or no, he doesn't. His mask doesn't get torn off. He takes it off.
No.
But
yeah, he takes off his mask just to reveal to Otto that it's me, Peter. We got to shut this off. Tell me how.
He ends up. Or sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. But yeah, basically, he said. What were we saying?
Yeah. Otto. Another great line for Alfred Molina. He says, "Peter Parker, brilliant but lazy."
Yeah, which he said earlier when he was when they met. Yeah, I mean, I love when Otto figures out who Spider-Man actually is, and he seems kind of shocked. He's like, "Oh, wow." He's like, "Oh, Parker, brilliant but lazy," and we get this really heartfelt moment, where, Peter talks with Otto and gives him kind of a heart-to-heart, and Otto's like, he's like, "But it's my dream, it still is," and he just grabs him, and the arm grabs his neck, and Peter's like, "You said to me once that intelligence is a privilege." He's like, "Intelligence is a gift to be used for the betterment of mankind," and he said, "Yeah, privilege." And then he gives Aunt May's line about, doing the right thing and giving up everything you love in order to do the right thing.
Even our dreams.
Even our dreams. And Peter and Otto just kind of thinks about it, and he's like, he's right. And then the things just start swiping at him. He's like, no, he's right. And then he kind of has this little thing where he's like, "You listen to me now," and they're like, and then, oh no, then he gets back and then he says, and then Peter's like, "How do you stop it? You got to tell me." And he's like, "You can't stop it now. It's self-sustaining." It's like, "Well, think." And then he's all like, "Well, the river. We can drown it." And then Peter's all like, about to go do it, and then he grabs him, and he's all like, "No, I'll do it." Again, just a really beautiful scene. My bad thing of it didn't really do it justice, but I think it's a really great scene.
Oh yeah, seeing Otto make his big sacrifice, and even like their last moment, just looking at each other, it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. And he goes to sacrifice himself to destroy his greatest creation. And then Mary Jane finally sees him as Spider-Man. So he doesn't have to, make these weird-ass explanations all the time. And he is Spider-Man. And, yeah. So she knows he's Spider-Man now. Thank God.
Yeah, it's just like a weight has to lift off our shoulders. Just like, thank you, finally.
Yeah, and Peter's just, Peter ends up seeing then a thing starts to collapse on Mary Jane, and Peter just gives his, greatest yell ever, which is another freaking meme, where he's like, "Aah!" And he just, jumps over to save her, and he saves her, and, which, he ends up catching it. And he's like, classic Peter Parker line, as Chris Stuckman put it. He's like,
"Oh yeah."
He's like, "Hi," and she's all like, "Hi," and he's all like, "This is really heavy."
Oh, I love that. Classic Peter Parker.
Oh yeah, and they actually reveal their feelings for each other, and it's actually a really heartfelt scene.
It is. And also another I would say it's a pretty heart-wrenching, is when Otto is trying to destroy the Tritium, giving his ultimate sacrifice, and he just says, "I will not die a monster."
Oh yeah, such a great line. Great last line to end it on. And he's like, "Ugh!" He gives his best yell, and he sacrifices himself to stop it. And we last see him. The things end up turning white once Otto takes control. And they end up flickering off as he goes into the river. R.I.P. As they say. Unless he's not. Until he's not. It's like No Way Home. But I digress. Peter ends up returning Mary Jane to John Jameson. Of course, J.J. Jameson is there. And Hoffman. I guess he just loves to find a good story.
Yeah.
And he ends up leaving. He's kind of realized that, you know what, he's like, you know what, they both realize that maybe it's better they stay apart because, Peter doesn't want his enemies to, kill her or anything.
Yeah. And he's like, "Yeah, I will always be Spider-Man. You and I will never be, because I'll always have enemies."
Yeah. But then we get to see Harry. He's visited by the man. The myth. Norman Osborn. He's back. Willem Dafoe's back, baby.
Hell yeah.
And he's back in action, and he's all like, "Hey, avenge me, son." And he's all like, "Oh, hell no. I'm not doing that."
"Avenge me!"
He's like, "No!" And he's like, "Bro, it's my bro, Peter. I don't want to hurt him." He's all like, "Avenge me! No!" Just throws a knife at him and shatters the window. Which, is that a meme too? I don't remember.
Yeah, but not as big of a meme as the J. Jonah Jameson laugh for Peter screaming.
Or Pizza Time.
Oh yeah, Pizza Time. But yeah, that scene, it makes me laugh. Sort of similar to the Old Man in Quiet Place. Not in a so bad it's good. It just makes me laugh. Basically, I'm laughing with them, not at it.
Yeah, it's just like, oh man, that's good. He also breaks the window and he ends up finding his dad's secret laboratory where he was doing all of his Green Goblin shit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we're nearing the end of the movie, and Mary Jane is John Jameson's about to get married to Mary Jane Watson, but Mary Jane, she has second thoughts. She's like, you know what? Fuck it. She ends up running to Peter. It's like this big dramatic moment. She's running around in her wedding dress, and it's like this big, like, I don't know how to describe it. You have any thoughts, Jacob?
It just, I don't know how to feel about, like, her just running in her wedding dress. I don't know how to feel about it. For me, I don't know. But, you know, we see her just running, and then Peter's just, like, in his apartment, just, like, staring out outside. Then we see her pop up, and then he's like, you shouldn't be here. We can't be together. And she's basically just like, screw you. Like, isn't it time that you finally get what you want? Or something like that?
Yeah.
And then Peter just says, like, thank you, Mary Jane Watson. And they have a kiss, and it just feels amazing. After this character has been beaten down, you're just like, yeah, finally, he's finally got something good.
Yeah, he's finally like, yes, I'm not getting shat on anymore.
Yeah,
and Mary Jane's like, you know what? It's about time someone tries to save. I actually think this ending's perfect because it's not. Well, again, we haven't actually ended it yet. But then she kisses and they hear police sirens, and Mary Jane's like, go get him, Tiger. And he's all like, oh, hell yeah. So he goes out in his Spider-Man garb and flies off, do his thing.
And another amazing final swing.
Oh, yeah. And final scene is Mary Jane looking out, and then she's kind of like, oh, what have I signed myself up to? Which I think is just a perfect ending, because it kind of gives the end. But then they forget about all that in Spider-Man 3, which we'll get to.
Yeah.
But then we get another final swing, like you say, and that was Spider-Man 2.
Yep.
Love this movie.
Fantastic.
Oh,
one of the best comic book movies ever.
Oh man, it's so good. I love the crap out of this movie.
Oh, me too.
Probably like it's in my top 5 favorite superhero films of all time.
Oh, mine too, for sure.
I mean, the characters are great, the atmosphere is great, the humor is great, the characters are great. I think I already just said that characters are great. The action is just the train scene. God, the train scene. No one's topped that shit, man.
Yeah, the train scene. We don't even need to say anything else. Just the train scene.
Yeah, just a train scene. Everyone will know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Sam Raimi again did the nigh impossible, which was I'm gonna create a sequel that's just as much of a banger as the first one.
Yep. And Danny Elfman's score once again iconic.
Oh yeah, so many iconic moments in the scene, like the laugh, pizza time. Yelling, more yelling, Dr. Octavius just being a complete icon. I'm surprised they haven't made a Dr. Octavius Doc Ock being iconic for 9 minutes on like YouTube, but I digress. Yeah, everything kind of comes full circle in here. It feels like a sequel. They're taking everyone into their. It just takes everyone into. Not really a dark place, but it kind of brings the characters into a whole new level. And but yeah, this film's amazing.
Oh yeah, it is incredible.
I mean, like I said, us Spider-Man fans are a bit spoiled, but damn, like I don't think anyone's topped this film in terms of the live-action movies.
Oh Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, the MCU movies are pretty good, but I don't think they hold a candle to this one.
Oh, no. For me, anyway. I might be biased because I grew up with these movies. But no, I think they're, like, better made. They feel... they're more iconic. They don't just feel like stepping stone movies. They're like, hey, we're trying something new here.
Well, yes. I don't mean to undersell the MCU Spider-Mans. We will talk about those. And we do like those movies. We're not saying like we're not one of the Iron Boy Jr. crowd who think like, oh, he's just Iron Man stooge.
Yeah, unlike some people, Matthew Harris on Facebook.
Yeah. All right. Let's not talk shit about our audience. But yeah, this film's amazing. Not really much else to say.
Without a doubt, one of the most inspiring and emotionally captivating comic book movies of all time.
Oh, most definitely. And, but yeah, so that was Spider-Man 2.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, it was a great film. Luckily it didn't get as long as last week. Yay! Which wasn't a problem, but, you know, kind of wanted to be a little shorter.
Mm-hmm.
But we got it to our usual time. So next week we're going to be doing Spider-Man 3. So we're going to be getting out of the greatness land and into the very underwhelming land.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun one.
I mean, I'm actually excited to talk about Spider-Man 3 because, you know, it's like it's actually a fun movie despite the fact it's like really corny in the bad way.
Yeah, it's a fun mess, but at the same time disappointing and underwhelming, as you said.
Oh yeah, but I can't wait to talk about Spider-Man 3. That should be fun.
Yeah, it will be fun.
And then we'll start the Amazing Spider-Man movies after that, which, ooh.
Yeah, we're going to get into the real shit.
Real just shittiness?
Yeah, ooey.
Yeah. I'll take Spider-Man 3 over the Amazing Spider-Man, but we'll get to that when we talk about Spider-Man 3.
Mm-hmm.
But, man. But yeah, that was it. We're going to be talking about Spider-Man 3 this upcoming week. I hear there might be a Spider-Man No Way Home trailer coming out soon.
Yeah, I've heard rumors that it's going to be coming very soon, somewhere this week or next week. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. I don't trust rumors.
Yeah, me too. I'm kind of skeptical when it comes to such things. But, yeah, Spider-Man 3. Gonna be talking about that. And, yeah. Ugh. I sound like I'm not excited to talk about this. I am. It's gonna be a fun movie to kind of, you know, sit around and laugh at and talk about our kind of nostalgia for this movie, even though it's kind of underwhelming. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so Spider-Man 3. Oh boy. But yeah, so that was the end of that episode. And I've been Britton.
I've been Jacob.
And this has been our show. We do it for the love of the movies. How'd that sound, Jacob?
Had a nice ring to it. I love it.
We've been trying to come up with an outro, so I guess that'll be our outro now. Well, I'll let Jacob say it next week.